rest a little bit and prepare ourselves for the overnight camps that are coming. We have a group of teen camp that is following that. Another thing that we did to try to give ourselves enough energy without being burnt out at the end of the summer is we built break weeks in. So after the day camps, there's a week where there's no camp, and that'll allow me to mow, and it'll allow us to clean the camp, and it'll allow us to set everything up for teen camp. And then we have our teen camp and our junior camp, and then we have another week where I can mow and we can clean, and then we have a family camp. And the family camp is our last one. It's in the second week of August. And it is an interesting newish thing. For the last few summers, we've been doing a family retreat, and it's just been on the weekends. So it's been Friday to Sunday. And we've been having an interesting group of people come. There's been a number of different families that have either fostered or adopted First Nations kids, and they come. They're typically Christian families, but they come and they use that as a time to fellowship together and to have their kids spend time together and talk about some of the challenges that they face together. So this year, at the request of some of these families, we've extended the camp. So it's now 5 days. It goes from Wednesday to Sunday. And we have a speaker that's coming to talk to the families, but I've also asked someone to come and talk to them specifically about the challenges of raising kids in our current climate. And so they're going to have some breakout sessions. We have a kids program. It's a really, really wonderful week. There's lots of kids running around. It's an easier program from our perspective because it's a lot of it is self-directed. We really encourage the families to spend time together, throwing tomahawks or canoeing or playing board games or whatever it is they're doing it together as a family. So there's not a heavy program. We have our speakers and we have our chapel times and things, but we really try to encourage the families to spend time together. That's been a really interesting developing ministry. It might even come to the point where we have a couple of weeks of family camp as it's been getting quite full. So those are our summer camps. We always have been seeing this. It's almost like an inverse graph. Every year there seems to be a greater challenge in connecting with staff. And talking with some of my other camp director friends, I know I met with a friend who runs a Bible camp in the southern part of the province, and he didn't even start teen camp again after COVID. They haven't had teen camp at all. They just have moved into doing day camps. And part of that is because of the issues trying to find cabin leaders and staff. And that's been an area that we've been struggling in as well. So for our teen camp this summer, we are still looking for some mature Christian cabin leaders. And at camp, a lot of the time people assume, well, the speaker is the one doing all the Bible teaching. And in a certain way, there is something very organized and true to that. There is authority and there is a centrality to that teaching, but there is a discipleship component in the cabins. Our program is built so that the cabin leaders don't have to come up with their own devotions. They have a devotional program that is built on what was taught in chapel. So they really are fielding questions from the kids about what they've learned. And it's meant to continue on with that, and the speaker will often visit the cabins and assist with some of that. But the questions and the conversations that happen between the cabin leaders and the campers are rich. And we meet with the cabin leaders and we talk about them and we talk about how those can be answered well. But it's a real ministry opportunity to be a cabin leader in our context. It's a challenge. We have a team that comes from a church in Ontario, and they've been sending a team for about 25 years, I think. And they bring cabin leaders from their youth and their young adults. And almost every year I've heard this said, and now the team leader wrote a little blurb in our newsletter, so you can read that. But the kids will say that when they leave, that was the hardest week of my life and the best week of my life. It's challenging and it's rich, and they see God at work. And I would encourage anybody who is, in their late teens or 20s or 30s that hasn't had the opportunity to have that kind of an interaction to consider doing that. Whether you do it with us at Arrowhead or at the Bible camp here, it's a real opportunity to invest in someone in a way that maybe you won't see fruit today, but so often people will call back to the relationships and the conversations they had at Bible camp. That is a rich and a real thing. We are also looking for a camp medic for our junior camp. So that's something that we're still looking to fill. We are praising the Lord. There is the possibility we may have a lifeguard. Someone approached me recently. There's a young lady who may be able to come and lifeguard for us, so you can pray about that with us as well. I would say for Liz and I, our biggest prayer request right now is for some full-time staff to come and work alongside of us. I would love to have a facility manager that would come and that would just love the ministry and love the facility and just take and do what needs to be done. Right now, Liz and I sort of cover all the bases and none of them get fully covered. I'm not particularly handy. You wouldn't want me to have a chainsaw or probably matches, so God bless those of you who are coming to take care of those things. But I'll mow, and when I mow, it takes 8 or 10 hours to mow, and that, starting pretty soon here, will be once a week probably. So those kinds of things, then I have to balance with organizing, planning camp, and finding staff, and doing all of those things. So it would be a tremendous blessing to find someone who would come and work with us full time. So that is our current prayer request, is that there would be, and field workers. It is very needed in Atlantic Canada. At the end of this summer, Liz and I are trying to determine exactly how we're going to do this, but NCEM has a general conference every 4 years, and this one is the 85th, I believe. So it's an anniversary, and the mission is really encouraging everyone to go to it. It's in Edmonton, and it's, I believe, the first week of September. So there will be some travel, whether we drive or fly, whether we all go or I go, we're not sure. But that'll cap off our summer, and then we'll be into our fall. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening in the fall during the service this morning. 2 things I'll mention before I go. I've talked quite a lot, but the one thing I will mention is that we have a deck project. Now, I understand that it was you folks that built our deck in the 90s. Is that right? Yeah. So that deck has like legs. I mean, it's lasted for nearly 30 years. That's remarkable for pressure-treated lumber to stick it out that long. But it does need to be replaced. And so we have a Christian contractor who's coming to do that in a couple of weeks. That project is, there's a picture of it on our email, so I don't know if you don't get our email, you can subscribe to our email, or you can just give me your email address and we'll put you on that list. I try to send out an email every 2 or 3 weeks just to keep people updated. The deck project is about half funded, so it's going to be about $35,000 to do the deck. We have about half of that. We are having a flea market yard sale at the end of May, and so we are collecting junk for our yard sale. So if you have an attic full of junk that you're like, what am I going to do with that? Put it in the trunks of the people that are coming down, and we'll pile it in a big pile, and we'll have it in our flea market. So that's happening at the end of May. And then that sort of brings me to the tree trimming. I don't know if have you got the pictures of the trees up there? Is that? Yeah, so we had a bunch of trees fall down this winter, largely due to the fact, I think, that they're like weak trees. We didn't have very many storms, but we did lose, I would say there's probably 8 or 9 trees that need to be trimmed and cut up, and the branches burned, and then the leaves raked and that kind of stuff. So there's quite a bit of work to do for those of you that are able to come. I think I said this to Matt last year when you were there, like with it just being Liz and I, when 20 people come and work for one day, it saves me 20 days of work. Like, that's a big deal. So don't feel like it's trivial to come and rake leaves. That's a huge blessing to us. The one thing I haven't mentioned, and that isn't in the pictures, is that I'm getting 3 dump truck loads of bark mulch dumped for those of you who've been at the center, you know the space between our tuck shop and the lodge, there's some oak trees and a lot of rocks. There's no grass or anything growing, so we're just going to spread the bark mulch out on the rocks to give it a little bit nicer of a carpet under the trees for the kids. All play in there, and there's a lot of rolled ankles and things. So we're gonna try and build up some bark mulch over a couple of years. So those are some things that can get done on the work weekend. And if you have any questions or anything, and if you want to come to the work weekend and you're like, I really don't feel like I'm a leaf raker, inventory needs done in the bookstore. I could print that off and someone could do that. There's lots of things that can be done. So if you'd like to come and you're like, I don't rake leaves, I don't cut trees, don't let that keep you away. There is a fairly big project that we won't do that day, but I am looking for someone who can sew that will help us make new curtains for the cabins, and so there's always little projects to do. So don't be shy to come and ask how you can be involved. I was gonna maybe do some questions, but I've been a long time, so I'll go sit down and turn it over to Pastor Matthew. But thank you for letting me come and share.
Hey, kids, you put out your classes, and we'll see you all next week.